My name is Scott.
Hi, Scott. Hi,
I'm a
Scott.
member here. Various interests. And I'm going to talk tonight about a class I am preparing the curriculum for and hoping to start to offer more through late spring and into the summer. So you might think of me as the guy building the stairs. And you might think of me as the guy that has a passion for stairs. But in reality, the stairs are a gateway. Both for the upstairs and once we have the stairs and elevator done and that wall that just got built back there, that will be a classroom. So you may recall pre-COVID, we had a lot of classes if you were around, and it was a great way to engage with the community. One of my passions is to work with youth to help them have hands-on creational experiences. I used to teach a hands-on metalwork kids class, and I am working on a new class for the woodshop called Build a Plywood Skiff at Sector 67. So the beginnings of this class came from when my boys were little. We built a little rowboat. There's a whole community of people on the internet who have this idea of like, how much boat can you make out of one sheet of plywood? And it turns out you can actually do reasonably well. You can make a cool little rowboat for a kid. Even I could get in it. It had about 2 inches of freeboard if I was in there. But my kids rode that thing around Tenny Lagoon all the time, and we were at the Fools Flotilla for the Marquette Waterfront Festival. It was a fun project, and it was practical. And I think there's just something about when you're a kid getting in a boat and like rowing on your own. There's just like this sense of adventure of like being there by yourself. It's like it's a world of magic when you're steering your own ship, literally. So this class hopefully will let kids have that experience. And since we built that boat, had the long-term goal of turning that into a curriculum. So there's this guy, Herb McLeod, who made these plans for free. This is his original plan. That's all he did. You have the one sheet of plywood, you cut the sides off the plywood, cut the transom off the back, and you make the boat that way. So here's our boat. I just pulled it out from underneath the porch. It's called the Hamster. Neither one of my boys probably fit in anymore or fit in the same as I do. But you build little oars as well. And I'll mention it at the end, but I was just down at the DNR today because we had a member bring in a little electric trolling motor that was not working right. So one of my sons and I cut it down to be the right size to kind of be an outboard electric motor for this tiny little boat. And I'm still waiting to find a kid brave enough to be the test pilot, get that thing out with the trolling motor. But if you have a motor on the boat, you have to have it registered with the DNR. So I worked through the DNR system of like, wait, what is this? Like, where's your manufacturer sheet? Where's the title? Like, no. I'm like, we built and so they do have a provision for home built boats, and actually the person was very helpful, and I do have now the boat registered. I didn't have to title it because it's shorter than 11 feet or something like that. But I do have to now permanently put on the like registration number of the boat in 2 places on the hull, and there's some challenge with it, but I'll be able to someone will be able to legally ride this thing around with the electric trolling motor. Here's some pictures of the boat in progress. You can see the sides, and you kind of bend it around, and it gives a nice looking boat, I think. So the class goals. Yeah, there's like this goal of make a boat, and that's like a cool thing. But really what one of my main goals is create an accessible on-ramp for people. Like, people find this space, and there are some people that come in and they're like, wow, this is like a place for me, and I know how to use some of this stuff, and I'm learning it. Chris is passing around, so I'm making some templates and basically jigs to help the build process go more quickly into it, to involve kids. So the target age is kids 8 to 12 right now. I might change that up depending on how the test runs go. But measuring and cutting all these angled parts, some are compound miter bevels. It's a little bit tricky, so I decided, I'll just make templates, and the kid can line it up and mark it out, and the adult can do the cutting. It's gonna go a little faster. So yeah, it's some of the pieces going around. Um, for that, but one of the major goals is to create that accessible on-ramp for someone that may not have any woodshop experience at all, but they could come in. This class would teach them how to get the air handling going, how to safely use a table saw, a miter saw, the router table, uh, how to clean up after you're done, where some other things live, like the hand drills and the drill bits, where clamps and things like that. And so it turns out that this project is a great one because it uses all of those tools basically. We aren't using I haven't designed it to use the planer, but we could actually use a planer if we wanted to do that as well. So it's basically a survey of the wood shop as we've got it there, most all the power tools. And so that's a primary goal. Secondary goal is that the adult comes out of that with like some confidence. Maybe they're not able to necessarily run things on their own, but they know what the tools do and they know some safety procedures with those. And they've run them in a facilitated way. And the kid they end up with a working kid-sized boat. They'll have to paint it themselves. So we just paint it with latex paint. We're using like literally the cheapest plywood and the cheapest furring strip lumber that you can get. So it needs to be sealed, obviously, but latex primer and paint should last until the kid outgrows the boat, hopefully. And then eventually, I'm hoping that we'll have a fleet of these things I don't know if people are familiar with the Fool Flotilla. That's part of the Marquette Waterfront Festival, but they do a boat parade basically from Tenny Locks down to Lake Sonoma. And it's just a fun kind of community thing, and I thought it would be funny. We did it with the boys, and when we had the little hamster, and they could both fit. But I thought it'd be a funny thing to have a little fleet of those boats. So some of the constraints of the class targeting kids age 8 to 12 with an adult that doesn't necessarily need to know anything about wood shop, but is game to learn. I'm hoping, and this all needs to be proved out. I'm hoping that we can build this thing in 2, 3 to 4 hour sessions. It might be longer than that. We'll have to see. But it's going to be definitely don't want to hurry in the shop. You don't want to take our time and do it and explain the safety and tools and all of that. So working through kind of with test pilots in later May to see is a 2, 3 to 4 hour sessions feasible to actually lead the book. We'll see. Don't know. Hoping eventually maybe we could run classes with like 3. The wood shop's not super huge in terms of the scale of the boats, but could we run classes with like 3 adult kid pairs? And then hoping to work with older youth mentors. So we've got interns for the summer. This would be a great way for them to develop fluency with the wood shop, or my younger son is going to be around for the summer. So potentially I would be working with youth mentors to help also facilitate that process, develop their skills with teaching classes and practical skills in the wood shop. So where am I at right now? After I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a stopwatch and let's build this boat and see how long it takes. It's like, oh, that's gonna take way too long. The miter angles, I'm getting everything set. So I'm making templates so we can just take the labeled pieces, mark the angles and cut them. Work on that. I'm working on the example kind of fit ups. You saw probably the prow and the frame pieces coming through and some templates for like the stem and all of that. I found sources for all the parts, like just Menards, Home Depot, basically. I have an adult kid test pilots lined up for mid to late May. Looking to hopefully have a boat or 2 ready to do some advertising in the Fool's Flotilla. If we can do it. I got my hamster set up with it so we can do some power boating out in the Fool's Flotilla if that it's feasible. So yeah, I'm working on the curriculum, and if you're already fluent in the wood shop and this is like you've got a kid that you might want to build a boat with, like let me know, and I'm happy to facilitate the process of like I've got now very detailed like angles and lengths of all the pieces and stuff like that and procedures. Hopefully somewhat well thought out procedures for like how to organize the steps to make the boat. So if you want to do that, I'm happy to work with folks. Yeah, so that's it. This is her with his boat. I mean, so
What's the limiting factor on scale? Why can't we put Aaron in a big one?
what
the hell, man?
well, the sheet of plywood, the limiting factor for the boat itself is, yeah, the sheet of plywood is only 8 feet long and we take off the transom. And so if you wanted to scale it, you could. I think the design would like linearly scale.
Just thinking multiple sheets.
Whoa.
I mean, yeah, you could,
Yeah, so I'm thinking it's a big piece.
yeah,
How big is that?
the plywood is, like a little less than a quarter, yeah.
Oh, Menard.
It's the,
That was,
Whatever.
it's actually a two-part question, so that's part A. Part B, have you seen the 3D printed outboard propellers that go on a cordless drill?
no, that's a great idea.
It's yeah, you get some hex rod, you put it in your drill, and then you 3D
And then
print this problem.
Dude, the DNR pulled never say I was fanning myself.
Exactly.
Just
Yep.
They're excellent.
But DNR's not used, that's my feet mixer.
Oh.
Yeah. There is a guy in the pool flotilla that has one of those little tight tugboat sandboxes that he somehow made into an actual boat. That he has a drill with a little outboard that he goes and he like will spin that thing around too fast. So yeah, that is a very feasible, probably a better plan than. I mean, we'll see. I'm expecting with this trolling motor, that boat is with a little kid, and that boat is going to just fly, which is fun in its own way. But yeah, other questions?
Couldn't you make it pedal powered? Wouldn't it avoid registration?
Yeah, you could have a pedal power, absolutely. Yeah, even some kind of paddle off the end. There are people that have made these into sailboats, which seems a little sketch from my perspective. I've sailed sunfishes and little sailboats and all of that, but like, yeah, I wouldn't turn that into a sailboat. Other question?
Is any of it glued? Is it all just screwed together?
It's all glued. Yeah, it's screwed. But it really is, it's a PL premium or PL marine adhesive to glue it together.
And that seals it.
And that does a reasonable job sealing it, and then the latex paint further seals. Question right here.
So if you made it narrower, you would get taller sides, but then you would sort of like you arrive, you know, and then next to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole science of boat design that,
Totally.
You make it previous displays.
there's trade-offs. I mean, there's definitely like people that, you know, with this one sheet of plywood kind of ethic of like, yeah, if you make it more square, you can get more of a boat as well. I like the lines of this boat in particular, is why I kind of picked that design. I thought it actually looked like a reasonable rowboat. And it does roll, like with a little kid in it, it does the prows above. So you get a little bit of that effect. I don't know what they call it, but Kenny Lagoon is too much, you know, of the seaweed to really get going. But yeah, I mean, there's all, if you look for, people have done all sorts of different designs with the one sheet ethic, basically. Other questions?
How long did it take? How long did it take to build that one?
Well, this was with like a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, so a lot longer than 2 4-wheelers. I mean, it was more than 10 years ago now. I don't really recall. We were taking our time with it because it was, and we didn't do much of it here. We did a lot of it just with more hand tools and stuff like that. So it took a lot longer.
How'd you come up with the hamster as the name?
That was totally the boys' idea. That was, they were way into hamsters. They had this whole hamster universe thing going on. And
Okay.
yeah, it actually is a point of, I, for some reason, my whole life have thought hamster was spelled with a P. And so I came home and I saw they had painted it on the hamster, and I'm like, oh, that's clever. The hamster, it's funny. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, I think it's spelled wrong. And they're like,
No, Dad, you're.
Nice,
that-
that was the moment.
Yeah, that was the moment right there. Yeah, from there it was just more of the same. So yeah, they came up with hamster. And now I gotta figure out how to permanently put a, Wisconsin number, like you can't have it on a removable plate even, there's something it has to be. There's a very interesting constraint about registering the boat. It has to be like obvious if the plate has been moved.
Have you thought about the logical tie-in to recruiting children with it being a Minecraft boat? So
It does kind of look like a Minecraft boat, yeah. And with a Minecraft boat, you can go super fast on ice and stuff like that. Yeah. That's good. We'll do that before we do we had a real life Minecraft experience with my boys a few summers ago of like, we're gonna dig a 1 meter by 1 meter by 2 meter hole in the backyard at Sector. Isn't that gonna be awesome? And it was a little tough for the Minecraft world to do it in the real world. But we did do it, so. So see the big concrete footings on the back, was this real life Minecraft.
All right, thank you, Scott.
All right.
Nick, you ready?
Yeah.
So if you can bring your computer up here and just from Zoom, you can share on there. It just keeps from messing up the audio on this one.
The slideshow over here. Okay. Yeah, I just share. I think it's because you have yeah, that's stuff on share, so you can share again. The different screens are, yeah, as I say. That was I think, yeah, I think that's full screen. There you go.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, good. My name's Nick Hine. I'm a former member here, but I still stay in touch with people and but a lot of my time I spend now at the Kelch Aviation Museum in Broadhead. I grew up in Broadhead. My dad was the town doctor there, and we had friends at the airport, and so I've been going there since I could walk. We moved to Monroe when I was 10, but I still kept in touch there. And now that they've established this Kelch Museum, I go back there every Thursday to work as a docent, and then we've been trying to get an education program going for kids too. Because I love working with kids too, especially sharing aspects of flight science with them. So we didn't start this intentionally. We just thought that we have kids coming for school visits. We got some neat demonstrations to do with them. And this is one of the things I set up. When I was a kid, I had a toy called the Johnny Astro. And it was just this kind of setup. You had a control stick and a throttle, and you would blow a fan with a balloon. And I don't know if most of you are familiar with this concept, but if you blow at a ball and a round object, it'll hold it like a tractor beam. We use this to teach Bernoulli's principle because you have high pressure on the front where the air is slowing down, high pressure on the back where it's slowing down again. But on the sides where the air is going fast, it's low pressure, and that kind of holds it in like a donut. And you can steer this thing around. That toy is so much fun. I got it for Christmas when I was about 10 years old. And I could hear on Christmas Eve, I could hear Santa downstairs playing with it. And the next morning I came down, the batteries were half dead. So that's one of the things we do. Sometimes we go out to high school kids, and I think that lecturing to them is a good idea, and you can see what they think of it here. We go from the aside from the Johnny Astro, we've made this toy. I take a blower that's powered with a DeWalt battery and a ping pong ball, and you can Lower, this ping pong ball. When you blow on the ping pong ball, it does the same thing. It holds it up in the air. And so I've made this tower with the rings, and the game for the kids is to get the ball through the rings and into the basket at the top. And this is the reaction. She just got her ball in. So you can see that's pretty cool. Now, the other thing we do is an air rocket. Well, let me start with this. No, I'll start with the air rocket. The other thing we do is an air rocket launch. So we've got this compressor set up and a launcher. We push a button, and this little paper rocket we make out of a paper tube and a plastic nose cone and pins. It goes shooting across the airport. And so I made a simulation of that, but it was really painful. And you guys saw my exchange where I was looking for something better to use to develop physics demonstration animations. And so this week that happened. This is another thing we do. So aside from blowing on the ball with the fan, we'll put a hose and a funnel on the end of it. And has anybody ever done this trick? If you hold the ball just above that funnel, there's enough airflow to hold it up in the air. If you push it down just a little bit, it gets sucked into that hole. The airflow speeding around the ball creates a low pressure that pulls it down to the hole. It plugs the hole, it gets popped back up, and then this is only like a millimeter or so, but it just sits there and rattles like that. So that's a really cool demonstration too. That's something the kids don't expect to see. These demonstrations, the first time I did this, I was a grad student in mechanical engineering at the University of Washington, and I was TAing an undergraduate fluids lab at 8:30 in the morning in summer. And my students would always be, eyes half open. I did this demonstration with the ping pong ball for them, and their eyes opened so wide that I swear the room bright. Just the kind of thing that an educator likes to see. Anyway, so getting back to the animations, I threw this together in a real hurry today. All I have is pictures and words. Last week, this is going to make me sound a lot cooler than I am. Last week, I was talking to a financial consultant in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, just shooting the breeze on a Wednesday evening, and I described my problem to him, trying to get a good, easy to use physical modeling simulation. And he said, "Oh, well, a couple of weeks ago, Google just released Gemini 2.5 Pro. And it's got that. You just tell it what you want, and it puts it out there." And while we were on the call, which was only about an hour, I did this. I told it what I wanted, and it basically, the first time you type in, you can talk to it too. I still want to get that shown you, but I have non-computer friends like that too. You type in a script, they call it a canvas, in a script window, you type in what you want, and it puts it out there. And I tell it, I want an animation of in this case, an air rocket. And I want it to launch with an impulsive force from a pressure that I can specify. I want it to have a drag coefficient, a frontal area of this, that the user can input, and a weight. And it did that. And unfortunately, it isn't perfect. I had the thing all ready to show you, and then I tried to make one change and completely blew everything up. And I didn't have time to reconstruct it. So what I do have is, let's see, I'm gonna stop. Can I change the window I'm sharing, or do I have to?
Yeah, no, it's the desktop share. So you should just jump to the other window.
Oh.
Is it just the other tab in Firefox?
It is a tab.
Yeah.
It is this, it's another window. Okay, so Gemini, here it is. This is the window. On the left is where you type in. You can see it. It's responding to me. The last thing I did was I was trying to make the ground plane conform to the hill that's there. But what I've done here In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking to a couple of calculus students at Broadhead High School on behalf of museum. And about the application of calculus. And I have this bicycle simulation that I've been maintaining over the years. But I didn't have to use any of the code I had from before. I just told this program to make it. It generates JavaScript code that you can download. Here is the code window. So you can just take this code directly, put it on your desktop. When you click it, your browser will open it and it'll run the simulation on your computer, or you can run it from here in the native environment. I thought I was going to have to figure out how to program in Java and learn a new programming environment and a compiler. And no, ever since I became an engineer, which has been a long time, I always thought if computers were so damn smart, they should learn our language. And that's what we have. I can tell it in my language what I want it to do. It'll come back with. Now, also, after I'm done with this, you give it your initial program, and then you ask it for what you tell it to give you what you ask for. It gives you what you ask for, and then you realize that what you asked for is not what you wanted. So you'll do a lot of iteration to refine it. Then after you're done, you can say, okay, now spit back to me the commands I would have to give you to the most compact possible list of commands I would have to give you to recreate this final version. Pretty cool, huh? So that's it. And I've been watching videos since then. You can this isn't made for engineers. This isn't made for physics demonstration simulations. It's made for everything. Most people are using this to figure out how to market their product or how to create a startup. And so it's got facilities beyond this. You can also create, you can create a blog. What do you call it? Like the name. You can create a two-person conversation where they're talking about any subject. You ask about the subject, you look it up in another application called Notebook. It does all the research. You put that research into Gemini, you tell it how you want it to present it, and you can do anything you want. You can present it any way you want. Today, I'm also in the Optimist Club. Our secretary wanted to make a certificate for a teacher at Whitehorse High School. It's going to be going away next year. And I just told it what I wanted, and it created an SVG file that created it. And then I was able to convert that to a PDF that my friend was able to modify. So there's, this is a brand new world. This is, you're going to be reading about this on the news pretty soon. 2.5 weeks isn't long enough for it to get into the news cycle. And now I'm to the point, well, I'll run the simulation in a minute, but now I'm to the point where I'm wondering, I'm watching these videos. Did Gemini create these videos? Are those real people? Are they, are they taking stuff that I created and using it without my permission, without any credit? So there's a lot of ethical questions coming up in the next few days. So anyway, I run.
Is this a paid copy that you're using, or is it a free?
I'm on the first month's free trial.
Okay.
After that, Google Gemini is $20 a month. LM Notebook, which does the research part of it for you, is $20 a month. But there is a lot of power there. They were talking about, I don't know what this means, but they're talking about a million token database. You can load books and videos and anything else into this in the LM Notebook, and it'll sort of drill that stuff, summarize it for you, give you the most important points. It'll give you whatever point you ask for. The only kind of qualm I have about running this is that every time I give it a query and hit return, somebody's lights dimming because the data center in the neighborhood is sucking power to answer my "Are you sure?" question. So I'm going to run it right here in this from this window. Okay, it starts out, this particular task, it's two bicycles side by side on an oval track. You'll see there's a hill on the back side of the track. It's a cosine shaped hill, and that took me a little back and forth with the AI to get it to do that right. Interestingly, the responses you'll get from AI are sometimes charmingly and sometimes frighteningly human. Initially, it was calculating the slope of the cosine curve from a straight line distance instead of the distance along the track. And I could see that, and I told it that, and it said, oh yeah, you're right, thanks for pushing back on that. I don't know how you feel about it, to me it's a little creepy. Anyway, so you start this, and the whole point of this for me was to show that a heavier streamlined bike, like the one I'm riding outside, even on a hilly course, is faster than a lighter unstreamlined bike. So I've got the characteristics of a standard bike in the left hand bike, and the red one is it's drawn as an ellipsoid, but it's supposed to model a velomobile. And I can step through here, just do individual steps, or I can just hit start and run it and watch it go around the course. Now, the important thing here, you're seeing the speed display down below. You're seeing the bicycle is going a little bit faster than the streamlined bike at first. It's lighter, so it accelerates faster. But very shortly, the streamlined bike is catching up. And just before they get to the rise of the hill, the streamlined bike is starting to get ahead a little bit. The common misconception is that it'll be so tough for the heavier bike to get up the hill that it'll slow down and the other guy will pass him, but that's not what happens at all. And after the two bikes come to this hill, the streamlined bike watches the other one in very short order. So that is really. So, and I created this with nothing more than typing in text commands for what I wanted it to do. I did not have to declare the variables. I did not have to check in the signs. I let the computer make those mistakes for me, and it did. It will forget to declare variables. It will get signs backwards. It will blow up your whole thing when you try to make one minor change. There is an undo button, but in my particular case, for some reason, that undo button didn't work. It has its faults. I'm told also that AIs will do something called hallucinating. A friend at church Sunday told me that their kid is working on an engineering project, and they told the AI to give it a parts list of everything that they need to order, and one of the parts in that list does not exist in the world. So you still have to check it, and it says right down at the bottom, Gemini can make mistakes, so double check. Yeah.
So speaking of double checking, can you view the underlying math to make sure it's doing real physics model?
I did that. I mean, you just look at the code, and in fact, for this calculus class, I wanted to pull the code out and show them.
Yeah.
That my force diagram matches up with the calculation.
So yes, you could wade into the code it generated and say, yep.
Yeah, and the code is very compact. This whole simulation is less than 1,000 lines. I cleaned it up. And that used to be the problem with code generators, the extremely verbose. That problem is solved now. More questions? Concerns?
Is that able to simulate, let's say, perhaps a small boat in the water?
Yeah. For all I know. The other thing I did was the air rocket simulation. It did that fine. A free surface is a very complex thing. This a water air interface is a really complex thing to simulate physically. You might be pushing it. You might be you might find it makes a lot of mistakes that you can't fix. But Scott wants to try it. The crowd goes. I got all up, and I may get all of the simulations that I need in the free month. I don't know. Sticking around to pay for it.
I think we'll be taking the experimental approach.
Yeah, yeah, and the cool thing is that you can get what you need. Really, very few tries. So this is something that I've been looking for my entire engineering career. It's neat to have it. It is, however, I have a friend in Janesville who does coding for game simulations like this. I think it's going to change his job a lot. It might eliminate it. Or might eliminate some of his team. And the one thing that I came away realizing after I did this simulation. So I only learned about this less than a week ago. It was last Wednesday that this guy told me about it. And I've had 2 really good simulations, of which I've spent 95% of the time refining it. Only 5% was getting the basic functionality. So I'm still new to this. I'm still thinking about the implications of this. This has the capability of creating its own tutorials and using those tutorials to create more tutorials to condense information further and further. And I'm kind of wondering where that ends up.
So how long is the prompt then, the compact prompt to generate that whole thing?
Oh, the text that generates it is less than a page. And I'm saying things like, I want start, stop, reset buttons. These are the variables I'm going to be able to change. These are the variables I want to display. And I want the course to be an oval that I can specify the length of. You make it a 2:1 aspect ratio and tell me what the position along the track is. If I should ride what the altitude is, where we go. It's those kinds. And I specify the grid, I specify down on the ground grid. But all that takes less.
Notice with the Velvale inside track, I feel like there's a little bit.
Yeah. I think if somebody was going to say that. I could have switched. And it might completely blow it up if I do. So, no, wait till after I've done this high school demonstration to change it. But that is kind of cool. You don't have to save the code. You can save the instructions. You run the instructions separately, create a different canvas to make sure that it gives you what you want, or you get rid of the old one.
And the point of it is though that it's replicable.
Yeah.
If you rerun the same query.
Yeah, and if I save the script and I come back to this in 20 years when all the programming languages change, presumably I can just put the same script in, generate code in whatever language is embedded at that time. Have the same result.
You might be really surprised, even from run to run, that it's not going to be as consistent as what you hope it might be. So you might want to save some code.
I have to. This one, this one I did. I got to a point where I made so many changes. I just said, "Give me a compact script and regenerate it." I did that, and I did still have to make some changes, but I didn't. It didn't go backwards.
Any other questions for me?
Yeah, I'm running out of words.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Has anybody else heard of or used Gemini? Are you using it regularly? Okay, let's talk to you.
It's Chris here. Great. Thank you. Come on down.
Yeah. I just had like a PDF.
Digital analog rules, yeah.
I forgot to pass these around. This is another thing I made. I've been making fan cards. Battery powered one. Then I made the solar powered one. And then I made this one. This is the guts out of a little $3 video controlled helicopter. Okay. From Siemens. I hold a look at that UV light. It's like how hard it is to try to find that's involved.
That's full screen.
Okay.
I have a little LED to hold my plate.
You can't pass it. Now this thing is called a camera.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
These are
That's because you have to.
maintenance technology.
Yeah, you have to pass something around. That's actually like a new 35mm camera that Pentax is making. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, feel free to take some pictures. Flashes on. Yeah, so I've been doing a bunch of analog photography lately. And I find myself between jobs at the moment, so I've had a lot of time to like spend in the dark room. And so color photos I'm developing in my basement, and then black and white photos, I've been developing those over at Photo Midwest on the west side. Yeah, so I don't know how I stumbled on this, but there's this technique of basically taking black and white photos that through like a red, a green, and a blue filter, and then recombining them so that you get color photos. So if anybody's unfamiliar, I found this Wikipedia image of kind of like the explanation of like what's going on in kind of analog chemical photography. You basically have light expose this emulsion that's on the film, and then you use a developer to kind of amplify that. And I think the succinct way I've heard it is you're basically taking like a silver salt and then you're like tarnishing it. So it's kind of like high speed silver tarnishing. And so all the parts that got exposed to light turn black. And then you kind of do some other stuff to like rinse away the stuff that you didn't expose and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, so I use this camera. I've got a couple of filters. If anybody wants to look at these, but just little glass like red, green, blue filters. And so I get a tripod, aim it at something. And I think this is over on like maybe Patterson Street or something. But it's this colorful mural. And so you kind of get like, you're effectively getting like the red channel, the green channel, the blue channel, just taken separately. And then in software, so I just scan these and then basically combine them into one, kind of overlaying them. And so this is what you get. And like you can see, it's a little glitchy where they don't quite like register perfectly. So I tried to keep everything really still between the photos, and then in Photoshop, I kind of overlaid them. But there's still little areas where like it's not quite perfect, and you get different exposures, kind of like for the different colored filters, just because like I think red sort of like it lets less light through than like the green filter, so you don't get kind of like perfect exposures on each channel. And then this is another one I took. There are these like little utility boxes that they put colorful wraps on. And then I think I had, okay, yeah, these are not mine. These are other people kind of doing the same thing. Yeah, and that's really all there is to it. I found kind of some interesting information, like when I was kind of researching some of these. Like this is actually a technique James Clerk Maxwell. I don't know if he did physics. It's the same guy, and he figured out this way to do photography back in 1861. But then kind of in the early 1900s, there was this technique of autochromes, which I think the gist of that is they took like kind of like translucent starch grains, and they dyed those red, green, and blue, and then they did kind of a photographic reversal process. And so what they ended up with was, I mean, something that I think in the end was pretty similar to kind of like a digital camera filter, where you have this photo with like the little grains of colored translucent bits, and when you shine light through it, you get like a full color image. This is like in, I don't know, 1910 or something like that. So there's some pretty early color photography, but they weren't super practical. Yeah. Any questions? That's really about all I had. Just kind of messing around with photography. Yeah.
The picture of the wall. What's that compared to the actual other student?
Oh, this?
Take a picture of the phone next to
As a matter of fact, I did, but I didn't put that in. It's pretty close.
You can put it in front of the camera,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's see.
that's the old fashioned speech.
That's right.
How much does film cost these days?
It depends on black and white. We can find some black and white film, like I bought some. Well, there's stuff that's like maybe $5-7 a roll.
Okay.
Nice stuff is more like 20. So it really depends.
I'll out Jim here, but Jim and I over the pandemic were selling some old photography gear, and Jim had some film that's been in his freezer for forever. And we both learned that apparently there is an avid community of people who are purchasing very, very old stored film in the hopes that it will give strange effects on the pictures that they take.
Yeah,
And so that was, I didn't know if you were in that community at all or had ever seen that, but it was news to us anyway.
there's people that like I haven't done this, but there's people that like soup it. You know, so you chuck it in something like, you know, bleach or something like that, you know, like you try to just like distress it in some way. I haven't really messed around with that. I usually trying to get them to be like, you know, kind of like good color, but yeah, expired film is like, yeah, I mean, it still works. People, I saw some YouTuber shot like 70-year-old Kodak like motion picture film, and like it had a super low ISO, but it worked. So, yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, the other thing that I found kind of interesting is like apparently they really don't make like black and white digital cameras. There's like a few companies that do, because like to make the color sensor, they basically each pixel has kind of a red, green, or blue filter on it. And people will do kind of aftermarket modifications on digital cameras where they take off that like filter, and then you get like a black and white sensor. And you know, it's higher resolution that way. But yeah, so there's like maybe one. I think there's like a Fuji or something like that.
So they give you triple the resolution.
What's that?
They give you triple the resolution.
Yeah, and I think there's some effects of kind of like chromatic aberration that get reduced that as well.
Might not have all the features, but if you find machine vision cameras.
Yes,
quite
all
often
of
are,
that cameras.
Yeah.
by default, but they won't have all the
Yeah,
bells and whistles that you.
Yeah, Sadiq was one of the high school students here a long time ago when I was in college, but he found out about Kodak or Polaroid cameras. Was very excited to get a very old Polaroid camera.
yeah.
And then he went on eBay and bought Polaroid film, and then was very disappointed the Polaroid film didn't work because it was, you know, 30 or 40 years old. So,
Yeah, depending on the type, those have
Yeah.
they have a battery in the cartridge of film.
okay.
Like yeah, one type of those, like I have that camera, and yeah, the film package has the battery for the camera. And that's kind of like the way, so you never had to use the battery because it's in the film. But then they go bad.
Yeah.
Battery kind of discharges.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I think the paid market rate is all the wedding photography. That's what you gotta get into. Be back to analog.
It wouldn't stand really still.
Exactly. Does anybody else have anything they want to share real quick?
I had a couple pictures. As many of you know, strong browser. We've been working on the apartment upstairs very, very slowly. So this is sort of hard to see as I go through this, but the frame of this cabinet is all made out of ash, and then this is all plywood. And so there's a essentially an ash like fascia that goes over top of this whole thing that Adam's been working on. So that is it installed. Now, ironically, this has a lot of character in the plywood, so you can see almost no difference. But that's the other side of the cabinet. And then last night beaver chomped through to get the 2 electrical outlets in. So took the very nice, beautiful back and turned it into 2 giant holes, but that'll be covered up with electrical outlets, so it won't make any difference, which are required by code, so there's not any way to dodge putting giant holes in it, but. At any rate, slowly making progress. So Adam Godding made all these cabinets, and he's happy to make more cabinets if anybody has lots of money they want to spend. So,
That's what gets you done.
oh, Sean, that's no fun. All right, I'm gonna kill the Zoom then, and then we can go around and Jim, who are you? What do you do?
Oh, I'm Jim, electrical engineer by education, but miscreant by time. I'm excited to build a boat. I guess it'd be fucking awesome.
You're gonna need 4 sheets of plywood to make it big enough.
I'm just thinking, well, can we use Gemini to optimize the displacement from a single sheet of plywood?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's an
People have
optimal.
hand done those calculations, right? There is, I'm sure there is an optimal.
Can we just
It's
reverse the
definitely
veneer
both.
and just re-shear it into 4 ply or whatever, and then unfold it, and you'd be good?
If somebody's done it online, and I can find it. Just,
Jacob, before we go totally off the rails.
Yes, well, I'm Jacob. I don't know, I guess a lot of what I do here is trying to fix random stuff that I find. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got various interests whenever here, I guess boats lately, hopefully it's kind of the summer of boats, we'll see how that works out.
Nick Kine, former aerospace engineer, airplane designer, now retired and having fun teaching kids 200 last week. Flight science and careers in aviation and aerospace. Also learning to class for retires until just came back souvenir from Spain.
Anthony, small electronics, software, 3D printing, member here.
I'm Heather, I work in dementia care, I'm just checking out the space.
I'm John, I work for Full Compass, managing inventory, went to school to be an airplane mechanic, never worked on an airplane a day in my life.
Never saw him willing to do it.
But yeah, just here to check out the space and yeah, thanks for having us, appreciate it.
I'm Christian Castro, industrial designer. Messing around with software, electronics, electromechanical stuff, optics, LEDs. I just heard about this place and wanted to check it out.
I'm Bennett. I don't have a job or jobs. I got a project I wanted to work on and had some thoughts that this place might be able to help, so I wanted to check it out.
You're gonna get some balance.
Yeah, good.
Alex, I'm a member and I'm an electrical engineer for certain company that operates safety scanner and also enjoy boats. Fortunately, I decided to reupholster my boat months ago, and it probably, I don't know, hoping to get done this year.
Alex got enough vinyl to do all the small boats. I'm just.
I bought enough vinyl. They gave me an entire roll. It doesn't come in longer than 30 yards, so they had to give me part of the second roll.
My name is John. Got a project with you, but doesn't have anything to do with building houses or anything.
Boats?
No.
Bikes.
Right.
Sean, lost my voice. Chris. Aaron, I guess delivery engineer. Prius technician, speaker modifier.
Audio engineer.
I'm Chris, member here, kind of between jobs, but when I'm working, I'm a software developer, on the web, commerce sorts of things. Lately I've been taking a lot of pictures in the dark room a lot.
To be clear, are you looking for work or are you happily between work? All right.
If anybody knows.
Looking for work, what kind of languages? Or what do you kind of do?
I've done a lot of rails, like any other kind of adjacent like technology I'm pretty familiar with.
Church.
Well, I don't know. I don't know much about it, so. Yeah.
I'm Mark, I'm a member here, I sweep the floor sometimes and try to do a 3D print at the same time, that never works out, but Chris helped me out, so I'm working on little parts for the Airstream. The plastic version are pretty much free, the original are like $500, so I'll go with the plastic.
Mark is an Airstream camper that he's realizing the $1,000 he paid a couple decades ago might be worth like 3 parts now, so it's appreciated substantially in value for better or worse. So.
getting swapped.
Yeah. At any rate, if anybody would like a tour, we can meet by the toolboxes. I'm happy to show people around. Otherwise, you're welcome to hang around or quiz people on
Boat or aerospace flight questions, you know, whatever you need to